Hello! An ordinary family with 2 kids are happily spending time together. The father no longer travels to hotspots on peacekeeping missions and peacefully fries pancakes in the kitchen. But one day they will bid farewell to their home and past lives forever, just like billions of people around the world. It falls on Gary Lane's shoulders not only to save his daughters and wife, but all of humanity that stands on the brink of the end of the world. A new day begins on planet Earth. 2 sisters run into their parents' room in the morning and jump merrily on the bed. Their father Gary goes downstairs to make his daughter's breakfast. The older one, Rachel, has asthma, and Karen's mother asks her to take the inhaler with her. The news reports riots and the declaration of martial law in a certain country. The younger one, Connie, asks what martial law is and if it's ever happened to Daddy at work. Jerry answers that it did happen. He is glad he quit his job and can now spend time with his family. Everyone gets in the car to go to school. They get stuck in a traffic jam, and for some reason there are helicopters flying across the sky. Jerry turns on the radio, which begins to broadcast alarming reports of a rabies outbreak that is spreading rapidly throughout the world. Suddenly, a policeman on a motorcycle hits the side mirror of their car and rushes forward without even thinking of stopping. Jerry goes out to look around and hears an explosion in the distance. The streets are in chaos, and Jerry barely has time to get back behind the wheel to dodge a garbage car that is hurtling uncontrollably through the streets. A corridor forms behind it, and Jerry uses it to get his family away from danger. The daughters scream in panic as the parents try to calm them down and buckle them up in the back seats. The father is distracted from the road and crashes into an ambulance at high speed. The family is saved by airbags, and everyone gets out of the car and into the street. Citizens run wildly as the military tries to gain control of the situation. Some of the people go crazy and throw themselves at passersby in cars. Jerry places his family in an abandoned motorhome and notices a guy flailing around in convulsions. After exactly 12 seconds, he gets up and starts attacking passersby like a wild animal. Jerry hits the gas pedal, throwing 2 of the deranged men off the car. The family manages to get out of town, but Rachel suffers an asthma attack. The inhaler was left in the abandoned car, so the father tries to help his daughter breathe. Jerry receives a call from his former UN colleague, Thierry, who was able to escape by helicopter and wants to help evacuate the lanes.
This is not for old time's sake, my friend.
I'll need you.
I need you back.
Karen manages to get the stalled car started, and Connie finds a hunting rifle and gives it to her father. They drive down to the nearest town to find asthma medicine in a store. The supermarket is already being ransacked by panicking residents, and the family splits up to find food and medicine. Jerry and Rachel run into a suspicious guy in the drugstore. He pulls a gun on them, but ends up feeling sorry for them and helps them find the right supplies. Jerry returns to the food department, where he sees a screaming Connie in a grocery cart. Karen was attacked by armed robbers who tried to take her purse. The husband rushes after them and kills the man in a gunfight, saving his wife. Just then, a policeman runs into the store, and Jerry puts his hands up, thinking he is going to be arrested, but the man indifferently runs past to pick up food for his children as well. The family is unable to leave. Their van has been stolen. Jerry calls Thierry to get them out from the roof of a nearby high-rise building. The helicopter can't arrive until dawn, and Karen launches a flare to indicate their location. Zombies continue swarming the streets, and Jerry shoots them off along the way. He blocks the door to the building where they will spend the night. This works for a little while, and the family escapes up the stairs from a crowd of living corpses. In the chaos, they lose Connie. Fearing the worst, they hear her scream. But it turns out that the girl simply found the occupants of one of the apartments who had taken cover inside. The family of migrants lets the guests inside and treats them to food. At night, Jerry wakes up from a nightmare and cannot find Rachel. She could not sleep and went to cry in the closet. Tommy, the migrant son, was there to help soothe her. The radio recommends staying at home for safety's sake, but the experienced Jerry advises teaming up and moving together. Thomas translates his message to his father, but the man is unwilling to listen to the stranger. The Lanes prepare to leave the apartment, and Jerry puts protection on his hands to avoid being bitten. They walk down the halls, trying to avoid the monsters. At this time, the zombies are already breaking into the apartment of the family that sheltered them. The Lanes go out to the stairs, where they get spotted. The father fights off the enemies, but runs out of ammunition, switching to a makeshift bayonet. The helicopter is already approaching the building, but doesn't see anyone on the roof. With the last of his strength, Jerry holds back the zombie who pounces on him, and drops of the infected man's blood fall on the man's face. Karen and the daughters make their way to the roof and light up a flare. Tommy, who has survived, finds Jerry and rescues him by shooting the zombie with his gun. Jerry runs out onto the roof and stands on the ledge, counting down the 12 seconds until he transforms. Fortunately, nothing happens, and a helicopter lands nearby. The zombies chase the survivors, and Jerry is the last to get to the helicopter while Thomas's transformed father is following on his heels. The helicopter successfully takes off, leaving the zombies jumping after it only to plummet down from the high ground. He reaches the UN aircraft carrier in the Atlantic Ocean. Thierry greets his friends and leads them to their quarters.
Is this worldwide? Is anyone doing better than we are?
Maybe. Go check somewhere else.
The US government, along with the president, have been attacked and killed. The headquarters for studying and preventing the spread of the virus is deployed on the ship. Young Dr. Fosbach reports that the source of the disease must be found and isolated in order to create a vaccine. The very first mention of the infection was in an email from a military base in South Korea. A team of soldiers and scientists must go there, and Jerry, as an experienced peacekeeper, must lead the dangerous mission. The man can't leave his family behind and refuses.
Take a look around here, Mr. Lane. Each and every one of these people are here because they serve a purpose.
The general informs him that this is the only condition under which the Lanes will be allocated a place in the quarters. They must create a vaccine, or all of humanity, including Jerry's family, will die. Karen doesn't want to let her husband go either, but the man explains that there is no choice. They will have a personal phone for direct communication, which they will use every day. Jerry says goodbye to his daughters and Tommy, whom he asks to watch after them. Jerry boards a plane with Fosbach and a squad of soldiers. The scientist is confident that they will find what they are looking for, because nature always leaves clues, much like a serial killer. On the ship, meanwhile, resources begin to deplete, and they decide to send many of the people that are useless to the mission onto the shore. For now, the Lanes avoid this fate. The team reaches their destination, where they are immediately attacked by zombies. Fosbach tries to run up the ramp, but slips and accidentally pulls the trigger in his fall. A bullet pierces his head, instantly taking his life. The survivors make it to the base, where they are greeted by allies. The zombies are sensitive to noise, so refueling the plane for the return trip will be very difficult. To kill the monsters, one must put a bullet in their head or burn them. Body shots will only slow them down. Jerry is shown the corpse of the first zombie that was reported in the letter. It was the doctor who had bitten the guards. The doctor himself was infected by the corpse of a soldier who left his post and was found in a nearby village, where he tried to bite the residents. The documents, with which Jerry could have traced this soldier, were destroyed in a fire. The only strange thing is that when the guards who were bitten by the doctor simultaneously turned into zombies, only one man was untouched.
They got no time for old dirty bastard here. Biting everything like fat kids love Twix.
The soldiers also report that the transformation here took not 12 seconds, but 10 minutes. In a cage nearby, Jerry sees a prisoner muttering something strange. He turns out to be a former CIA agent who was illegally selling weapons to North Korea. The man suddenly pulls out his last remaining tooth and says that this is what the DPRK did to the entire population. By depriving everyone of the ability to bite, they stopped the spread of the virus. Jerry doesn't believe such nonsense, but the man adds that there is one other country that has not been infected yet: Israel. They had closed their borders exactly 1 week before the epidemic began. He gives the name of a man from Jerusalem who knows even more. Jerry and his team are preparing to fly there. Before the flight, he doesn't manage to reach Karen because of a bad connection. They have to refuel the plane as quietly as possible in order to avoid attracting a horde of zombies. Jerry and his team make their way outside and get on their bikes. This is when Karen tries to call back her husband, and the tune wakes up the monsters. Several soldiers sacrifice themselves so that Jerry can reach his destination. On the flight, he calls Karen and tells her that the mission is taking more time than expected. At this time, through the porthole, the pilots see a huge nuclear explosion mushroom cloud. The plane shakes, and the call gets cut. They reach Jerusalem, where Jerry leaves the pilot at the airport in case of an emergency takeoff. He is taken with a convoy to a Mossad agent, who says they started to build a wall once they intercepted messages from India.
And yet, you build a wall because you read a communique that mentions the word zombie?
He explains that a special strategy for analyzing scenarios has been developed within the Bureau. If 9 people out of 10 reach the same conclusions, the 10th must take the opposite position and do everything he can to protect them from the craziest version of events. And for this exact reason, a wall against zombies was built, as they received occasional reports on them.
You're letting people in.
Every human being we save is one less zombie to fight.
The rescued people begin to sing loudly into a microphone, which attracts a huge crowd of zombies who start climbing the wall. The agent convinces Jerry that the only option left is to hide from the infection, and it is no longer possible to locate the patient zero. Suddenly, the horde reaches the edge of the wall and starts jumping down. Jerry rushes to the airport with a squad of soldiers. The zombies are getting further and further in, and the army is completely powerless against them. As Lane is escaping, he notices a guy who the zombies don't attack and run by. The squad finds itself trapped, and only a handful of grenades help to get rid of the monsters. Officer Segan kills the last zombie, but gets bitten in the palm of the hand. Jerry quickly grabs a blade and cuts off the infected hand, which saves the woman from turning. The survivors run to the helicopter, but a horde of zombies topples it to the ground. The pilot of Jerry's plane is informed of the crash, and he takes off without waiting for the commander. The group sees the plane leaving, and Jerry stops another airliner on the runway. Jerry and Segan go up the stairs to the cockpit. The plane takes off over the fallen Jerusalem. Jerry disinfects and changes Segan's bandage.
How did you know? Cutting it off, how did you know it would work?
I didn't.
The man recalls the people who weren't attacked by zombies and begins to see parallels. He calls Karen and Thierry to find the nearest scientific center that can create a vaccine. Together with the pilots, they find the place and head there. As everybody on the plane falls asleep, the stewardess is attacked by a zombie who somehow got on board. Jerry hears sounds from the adjacent compartment where the infection has already spread. Together with the other passengers, they block the aisles with bags, but it doesn't help for long. Jerry fights back with whatever tools are at hand, and Segan saves him from being bitten by making a shot. She keeps shooting, and Jerry finds a grenade on her belt. He launches it and hides with Segan behind the seats. The zombie is pulled out through a hole in the fuselage, but the engine also turns out to be damaged. Jerry and Segan buckle up for an emergency landing. A zombie rushes at the man when the plane hits the ground and crashes to pieces. Later, Jerry wakes up amidst the ruins. Strapped to his seat, Segan is not there. The man himself is badly wounded by debris in his side. A part of it is pierced through his body, and he can't get it out. Jerry unhooks himself and falls down. He sees surviving zombies and is afraid of being attacked when suddenly Segan shows up. Together they make it to the city and the science center. The general on the ship is informed that communication with the plane has been lost and that Jerry is missing. Despite Thierry's protests, Lane's family is kicked off the aircraft carrier and put into a helicopter. Wounded Jerry is having a fever and experiencing nightmares, and suddenly he wakes up in a hospital bed. His wound has been dressed and treated, but he himself is tied to the bed with ropes. Two strangers interrogate him and tell him that he has been unconscious for 3 days. Jerry asks them to call a number that will give them all the answers. Thierry answers the men's questions, earning their trust. He is surprised that Jerry is alive and informs them that his family was sent from the ship to a refugee camp in Scotland. Having recovered from his wounds, Jerry intends to leave.
Do you have family?
No.
No. Then you couldn't possibly understand, could you?
But the man adds that his son was killed by a monster that was once his wife. Jerry apologizes for his attitude and stays to reveal his insights about the virus. The people the zombies have bypassed were terminally ill, meaning that they must infect the survivors with some kind of disease. Scientists doubt that infecting people with another deadly disease will save humanity. But Jerry replies that it doesn't have to. Perhaps a non-lethal virus could scare away the zombies too. The scientists agree to test this hypothesis, but all the viruses are in the wing that is swarming with zombies. Jerry, Segan, and one of the scientists gear up for the mission. They will try to be as quiet as possible and avoid the infected. They walk through the corridors, bumping into objects scattered on the floor, but the zombies remain dormant and don't attack. The trio makes their way out of sight of the monsters and almost reaches the right door. The scientist hits a metal safe with a crowbar, and Segan kills the awakened zombie with a shot. The zombie swarm, awakened by the noise, runs at them, and Jerry separates himself from the group, drawing the zombies away from the virus room. He successfully escapes and fights off 2 zombies, but his wound begins to hurt badly from the strain. Segan and the scientist make it to the vaults, but encounter a large number of the infected. They try to return to the first block, but its doors are closed for the others' safety. The other scientists, risking their lives, let them in and contain the zombies. Jerry makes his way to the vault alone. Through the cameras, his companions see him and find a way to give him the password to enter the freezer room. He packs all the cans of viruses he can find into a box, but a zombie is already waiting for him outside the door. The unarmed man has no choice but to inject himself with the virus and try to get through the crowd of monsters.
What's he doing?
He injects himself with the virus and waits for the blood to spread through his body. The zombie gradually begins to lose interest in Jerry, and he decides to open the door. The monster gets in, but does not attack. Jerry leaves and drinks a can of soda from the vending machine with great relief. He makes some noise, and the zombies rush past the man, allowing him to peacefully reunite with the others. He is injected with medicine, and together with Segan, Jerry goes to a refugee camp to find his family. They all have been waiting for him. Karen, Rachel, and Connie are beside themselves with joy. Tommy is here too, embracing his new family, but surviving in the new world won't be easy.
We still don't know how it started.
The World Health Organization has created a vaccine that works as a kind of camouflage.
The solution discovered by Jerry becomes the life-saving medicine for millions of people. Many countries successfully use weapons of mass destruction to exterminate huge clusters of zombies. The war for the future of humanity has only just begun. As always, you can find the name of the movie in the video description. In the meantime, let us know in the comments. Would you dare to inject yourself with a potentially deadly virus to save humanity? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like so that more awesome stories will come out as often as possible.